Learning Outcome 3. Globalization, Trade, the Digital Revolution, and Terrorism. Globalization. Globalization is a process of interaction and integration among the people, companies, and governments of different nations, a process driven by international trade and investment and aided by information technology. This process has effects on the environment, on culture, on political systems, on economic development and prosperity, and on human physical well-being in societies around the world. Globalization is not new, though. For thousands of years, people and later corporations have been buying from and selling to each other in lands at great distances, such as through the famed Silk Road across Central Asia that connected China and Europe during the Middle Ages. Likewise, for centuries, people and corporations have invested in enterprises in other countries. In fact, many of the features of the current wave of globalization are similar to those prevailing before the outbreak of the First World War in 1914. But policy and technological developments of the past few decades have spurred increases in cross-border trade, investment, and migration so large that many observers believe that the world has entered a qualitatively new phase in its economic development. Trade. Trade involves a transfer of goods or services from one person or entity to another, often in exchange for money. A network that allows trade is called a market. Trade exists to the specialization and division of labor, in which most people concentrate on a small aspect of production, but use that output in trades for other products and needs. Trade exists between regions because different regions may have a comparative advantage in the production of some trade-able commodity, including production of natural resources scarce or limited elsewhere, or because different regions' size may encourage mass production. As such, trade at market prices between locations can benefit both locations. The Digital Revolution. The Digital Revolution began between the late 1950s and 1970s. It is the development of technology from mechanical and analog to digital. During this time, digital computers and digital record keeping became the norm. The introduction of digital revolution also changed the way humans communicate, now via computers, cell phones, and the internet. This revolution led way to the information age. Without question, the digital revolution has resulted in broad social impacts and widespread lifestyle changes. It has increased and improved the ability to communicate and find important information. Additionally, it has made globalization possible, which has in turn resulted in more effective and efficient business productivity. Unfortunately, many people believe that the digital revolution has decreased personal privacy, diluted professional journalism, and made separating personal and professional life more difficult. Terrorism. Terrorism is usually understood as the use of threat of violence to further a political cause. There is no universally agreed definition of terrorism, making it a difficult object to quantify. Terrorism is not a 21st century phenomenon and has its roots in early resistance and political movements. The Sikh were an early Jewish terrorist organization founded in the 1st century AD with the goal of overthrowing the Romans in the Middle East. Judas of Galilee, leader of the Zealots and key influence on the Sicarii, believed that the Jews should be ruled by God alone and that armed resistance was necessary. The use of terrorism to further a political cause has accelerated in recent years. Modern terrorism largely came into being after the Second World War with the rise of nationalist movements in the old empires of the European powers. These early anti-colonial movements recognized the ability of terrorism to both generate publicity for the cause and influence global policy. How positively and negatively globalization influences the world. Positively. Some economists have a positive outlook regarding to the net effects of globalization on economic growth. These effects have been analyzed over the years by several studies attempting to measure the impact of globalization on various nations, economies, using variables such as trade, capital flows, and their openness, GDP per capita, foreign direct investment FDI, and more. These studies examine the effects of several components of globalization on growth using time series cross-sectional data on trade, FDI, and portfolio investment. Although they provide an analysis of individual components of globalization and economic growth, some of the results are inconclusive or even contradictory. However, overall, the findings of those studies seem to be supportive of the economist's positive position, instead of the one held by the public and non-economists' view. Negatively, non-economists and the wide public expect the costs associated with globalization to outweigh the benefits, especially in the short run. Less wealthy countries from those among the industrialized nations may not have the same highly accentuated beneficial effect from globalization as more wealthy countries. Measured by the GDP per capita, although free trade increases opportunities for international trade, it also increases the risk of failure for smaller companies that cannot compete globally. Additionally, free trade may drive by more skilled workforce, which again can lead to outsourcing of jobs from countries with higher wages. WTO. The World Trade Organization, WTO, is the only global international organization dealing with the rules of trade between nations. At its heart are the WTO agreements, negotiated and signed by the bulk of the world's trading nations and ratified in their parliaments. The goal is to help producers of goods and services, exporters, and importers conduct their business. The WTO agreements are lengthy and complex because they are legal texts covering a wide range of activities, but a number of simple, fundamental principles run throughout all of these documents. These principles are the foundation of the multilateral trading system. The WTO officially commenced on January 1st, 1995 under the Marrakesh Agreement, signed by 123 nations on April 15, 1994. It is very important for WTO to exist, because this is what controls and deals with regulation of trading goods, services, and intellectual property between participating countries by providing a framework for negotiating trade agreements. Without it, economic organization in the world would be a mess. The Digital Revolution advantages and disadvantages. Advantages. The digital revolution links individuals and groups together. Ideas can be shared and innovation can be accelerated. Similarly, we now have a world of aligned opportunity. The digital revolution forces competitiveness on a global scale. Disadvantages. The information age allows evil to spawn and grow at an alarming rate. This revolution breaks down many relationships and our sense of community. Digital technology breaks apart our sense of political and regional community. Having information presented on a screen welcomes viewers to sit back, accept the message that is presented, and move on without time for reflection. Technology benefits or affects terrorism. In my opinion, technology only benefits terrorism, because now the world is so advanced in technology that everyone uses devices like computers, cell phones, and for terrorists it is easy to manipulate any kind of data that is placed in those devices, either it is to the president's data or any human being. Thank you.